Hello everyone, welcome to another Scene World hardware review. My name is Kevin Casteels, also known as Alterus, and today I'm going to be talking to you about the Commodore 64 Reloaded motherboard by Individual Computers. And this is a brand new motherboard for the Commodore 64, manufactured in 2015. Now this thing is fully compatible for the most part with all chips that were manufactured by Commodore or MOS. And not only is it compatible with all of the chips, it's compatible with all the different versions of the chips. And so today we're going to be having a look at the hardware itself, some of its features, some of its advantages over the original motherboards I should say, and also its compatibilities and incompatibilities as far as running software goes. So let's get started. So the Commodore 64 Reloaded motherboard is based on the Commodore assembly number 250466. This board version is generally considered to be the most compatible of all the different motherboards produced by Commodore with all the different software which is released. The one main difference between this board and all of the other Commodore motherboards is the fact that the RF modulator has been removed. This is the unit which would allow you to connect to an actual TV. This has been replaced by an S-video out and an audio out. So you can plug your S-video cable and your audio cable directly in here and get a nice picture straight from the machine. Another difference between the C64 Reloaded and the original Commodore motherboards is the kernel ROM. In the original Commodore machines, you had 3 chips for your kernel, your basic, and your character ROMs. These are all included in this single chip here, and it has room for 2 sets. So you can have two different kernel ROMs. You can say you have the normal one plus Jiffy DOS, and you could also have 2 different character sets included, for example. Another kind of the main hardware difference, besides the exclusion of the RF modulator, is the inclusion of this chip here, which is called the VSP chip. This allows the machine to scroll horizontally smoothly using a VSP bug which exists within the video chip. Some demos take advantage of this in a few games, such as Mayhem in Monsterland, I think it's the name of it. They make use of this bug, and this chip makes sure that behaves, those games behave as they should. Some versions of the Commodore motherboard had the bug, some didn't. This just makes sure that it's implemented properly so that all of that software works correctly. One great innovation that this thing has is the inclusion of a single DC 12-volt in. So you don't need to use the old power supplies, which are notoriously flaky. Now I'm going to show you how to switch out the video chip on this thing. It's the Commodore 64 Reloaded motherboard comes with a series of jumpers which enable you to switch the voltages and frequencies depending on which chip you want to use. So in here right now I have an early version NTSC VIC-2 chip, and it makes, you know, a decent picture. It certainly looks cool, golden legs on the thing and everything. But if I want to pop in a different version chip, it's as simple as taking that out, finding the correct chip. So that's a 1983 early version chip. I'm going to pop in a later version of the same chip, 1986 version, which gives me a nice cleaner image. And there you go. I've changed the video chip just like that. This is really useful if you've got chips that have been pulled out of machines with bad legs. I've got a bunch of different video chips, and some of them, this one's pretty good, but some of them have some pretty shoddy legs on them. And to put them back into an actual socket, I'd pretty much break them. Using these ZIF sockets, you can put in pretty sketchy chips, which is nice. On the other hand, I have had problems with the contacts. Sometimes I've gotten wavy video and even crashed the machine a couple times because the contacts weren't made properly with the legs of the chip in the ZIF socket. All I had to do was open up the machine, reseat the chip, and it worked perfectly again. But it is something to be aware. Make sure those legs are nice and straight when you pop in your chip, or else you could run into problems with poor contact. So now I'm going to show you how to actually switch between different versions of the chips. So this is from, those were early C64 VIC-2 chips, the 6567 chips, but the later Commodore 64Cs, they had chips that used a different voltage. They used 5 volts as opposed to 12 volts in the earlier chips, and obviously you don't want to be putting a 5 volt chip into a machine that's putting out 12 volts. So this is from a newer Commodore 64C. I'm just going to pop it in here. Well, actually, before I do, what I want to do is change some of the jumpers. So as you can see, there's jumpers here. It's very nicely labeled, which is a nice feature of the machine, of the motherboard. So all I do is just follow the directions on the motherboard about how to switch it. And so for this one, I just have to change the jumper from the left to the right for changing the chip version number, and then I pop in the chip and I'm good to go. Alright, so now I'm going to show you how to switch between PAL and NTSC. Okay, so I'm in Canada and we obviously use NTSC here, which if you want to hook your C64 Reloaded up to a CRT monitor, one of the original Commodore monitors, or another TV, you definitely, or even a flat screen that's only NTSC compatible, you're going to want to switch it over, because the original batches of C64 Reloaded boards shipped with PAL chips. And that's great, because here in North America, it could be difficult to get PAL machines over at a reasonable price. While this board isn't cheap, you have to consider that for us to bring over a PAL machine, we have to order something on eBay, most likely, ship it over with no guarantee that the thing works. And when you factor that in, the C64 Reloaded board starts to look quite attractive, because there's a guarantee that the thing will actually work, and it's PAL. And so for us here in North America, it's a great option if you do want a PAL machine. So for me to switch this over to PAL, this is an early version PAL chip, a 6569 chip. I'm going to switch the jumpers over to the 12 volts here for the earlier chips. And then I've got 2 jumpers here, and it's labeled. So for PAL, I have J7 has to be closed. Let's move that over like that. And J8 has to be on the left. So let's move this over like so. There we are. Okay, and then I can switch over to PAL, just like that. Okay, so now we're going to actually assemble the computer together. And before we do, I'd just like to mention a couple things about the board. If you're able to order it, it does not come with any of these chips currently. When I was able to order it, it did come with a video chip. Apparently individual computers have run out of video chips, and so you have to supply your own. What it does include is an 8701 clone. Now the original 8701, it synchronizes the colors with the picture based on your frequency, your scan raster frequency. And it uses an onboard chip or crystal to get that timing down. And the C64 Reloaded comes with two crystals, one for PAL, one for NTSC, and you can switch between them, as I showed you earlier. But the 8701 clone chip, this little guy here, it doesn't need that. It has its own crystal built in, which is really cool because with this chip you can switch an NTSC machine into a PAL machine just by popping this in and then popping the video chip in. You don't have to solder anything. You don't have to add a crystal. So I've actually taken this out and I'm going to convert one of my NTSC machines to PAL. You know, it's great so I can watch some of the European demos and whatnot. But when you order it, you'll be required to choose which version of this chip you want. If you're able to get one of these, the 8701s, they're in every C64 and they almost never break. So you can get one from, you know, a dead machine that otherwise doesn't work. Just grab this chip from it. And with this chip here, then you can just use the jumpers to switch between PAL and NTSC. So if you want to do that like I do, you definitely want to be replacing that chip that comes from individual computers. You'll obviously have to supply a CPU, your PLA, and your SID chip, as well as now you'll have to supply the video chip. Everything else comes with it. And there you go. So as you can see, this is in a transparent case. And as some of you may know already, someone, namely Dallas Moore down in Texas, found the original C64C housings, or sorry, the molds for creating the housings in a warehouse. They were going to be melted down, and he was able to secure them and ran a Kickstarter to produce new cases from the actual original molds. So this is an authentic Commodore 64 motherboard, or sorry, case. It has just been repressed from the original molds using clear plastic. Here's the upper casing. No, this is obviously a transparent one, but these are still available on eBay. They're available from Dallas, and other people are reselling them. They're reasonably priced, like $35 US dollars. To $40 US dollars, something like that. Maybe a bit more. They were cheaper during the Kickstarter. But, I mean, a clear case with the C64 Reloaded motherboard was something I really wanted to have. Another thing, you can see that I have these supports here for the keyboard. These are from Shapeways. You can also order these. These are 3D printed. They're not cheap, but if you've got a transparent case and you want to put a reloaded motherboard in it, I mean, whatever. I paid for them. I just wanted it to be extra special here. Here I have a VIC-20 keyboard, kind of a dead VIC-20. And so it is a Commodore C64. All you have to do is just plug it in as you would. All the parts are compatible. So it really is compatible with every single chip version ever created and all of the hardware ever created. It is a Commodore 64. So you just pop that in. I'm not going to be screwing it in right now because I want to be able to open the case to show you the video chip stuff later. And I just put the case on. There you go. Okay, now we're going to fire this thing up, and we're going to load up some software, and we're going to see how it performs. There we go, Commodore 64. So this is a Commodore 64 and it will be compatible with pretty much anything. Let's try some Spitball. Not sure if any of you are aware of this game. It's pretty good actually, I quite like it. So it's a cartridge, just pop that in the back like you would any other cartridge. Spitball. Alright, works great. As you can see, the video is actually quite clear out of here. No complaints about that. Alright, so now let's try something else. We will try some Pit Stop 2. Oh no, sorry, Pit Stop the original, because I don't have Pit Stop 2 on cartridge. Probably was never released on that. There we are, Pit Stop. Good to go. We'll do a bit of racing here. See what happens. Here we are, yeah. Here we are, I'm racing my car. You know, some of these games suck. This is probably one of them. Pit Stop 2 is way better. Okay, I've had enough. Alright, so the cartridges, as you can see, work as they should. There's one notable exception when it comes to compatibility with cartridges and the C64 Reloaded, and that is this little guy here, the MSSIAH cartridge. Now, I'm a musician, and I like to compose music using this guy here. It has an excellent sequencer, and it's really unfortunate. I got this, the C64 Reloaded, you know, one of my main objectives was to be using this cartridge with it, and it doesn't work. Everything else works. The compatibility with this thing is excellent, except for this. And I think it comes down to maybe some sort of software protection that's actually on here. It somehow can detect it isn't a genuine C64. I don't know what it is, and it's actually been discussed on some of the forums. No one has been able to resolve the issue. Hopefully it will be. I don't think individual computers have actually looked into it. I think it was kind of brushed aside. So hopefully this video will, you know, give a little bit of a push. This needs to be fixed. This is an extremely important cartridge in the C64 scene, and it needs to work. I'll just show you what happens when you plug it in. Pop it in here, and then you turn it on, and it brings up the normal boot screen, which is unfortunate. It should go right into the MSSIAH software, and that doesn't work. Another cartridge that is very important to the C64 community is the 1541 Ultimate, and I will be doing a review about this thing later. It is an awesome piece of kit. I would highly recommend it to anyone, and it's extremely important that it works with the C64 Reloaded motherboard, and it does. It works perfectly. We'll just pop it in. I'll unplug the drive here. Plug in the, there we go. Fires up. No problem. The power supply to the C64 Reloaded supplies around, I think it's around 4 amps of power, usable power within the machine. So that's much more than the original C64 has had. The original power supplies for these things had around 1.7 amps. And that, you know, that was enough for the actual machine itself. But as soon as you started adding peripherals, namely the 1541 Ultimate, you can run into problems with some of the units, and the power supplies can die and kill your machine. You will not have that problem with this, the C64 Reloaded. It's got lots of power. It'll run the Ultimate no problem. You can get into the, you know, as you normally would. and it works really well. So that's great. There is a small issue with this, the 1541 Ultimate, which I'll discuss right now, and that is the connections of the video and the audio. So I'm right here using an actual Commodore style video connector. This is the video and the sound coming out of it, and when that's plugged in, there's no problem at all. But if you decide to use the built-in S-Video, you'll see that the 1541 goes over top of the S-Video and the audio output. So what you can do is, obviously for the S-Video, you can get a standard S-Video cable. I'll plug this in first so you can see. Here we are. So the S-Video will plug in like so. Okay. But your audio, you can't have any old audio plug. You need to get an audio with a right-angled connection. This is essential if you want this to work. Once you get one of these, you're good to go. You plug it in like that, and there you go. Problem solved. So now you can just plug in your 1541 Ultimate. It's a snug fit, but it's fine. And you plug that in like that. So then you've got S-Video and audio coming out of it. Nice clean signal, and you can plug that directly into any modern peripheral, such as a projector and your home sound system. Get some kick-ass gaming going on with this thing. So, right-angled audio connector, and you're good to go. Alright, now I'm going to be looking at the compatibility with the 1541 drive, the original. Of course, you'd expect it to be perfect, and it is. So, what shall we choose? Batman or test drive? I'm kind of partial to test drive. Let's fire this thing up, and just give it a test go. So, I want to show you this just to bring home the point that this is truly a Commodore 64, and it is compatible with everything that exists, being old or new. Everything except the MSSIAH. Boo! Okay, so let's load test drive. And away we go. Alright. And as is tradition, here in the Commodore Shack, while we load, a bit of local brew is in store. Let no one thirst. Titanic Ale from Spinnakers. Good to go from my growler here. A nice stout. Kind of Guinnessy, but almost better in a way. Alrighty, good to go. So, should you buy a C64 Reloaded motherboard? Well, I guess that depends on what you want it for. If you're someone who's into fixing your own machines, you're really into soldering, you feel comfortable replacing capacitors and whatnot, to keep your machines running long term, no, do not buy a Reloaded motherboard. If you're someone who wants to be in the hobby in the long term, isn't into repairing the machines in the sense that you don't want to learn how to solder or do anything like that, it's a pretty good option. Everything's socketed, it's got the ZIF sockets, it's super easy to replace the chips when you want. It's super easy to try different versions of the chips that are in bad condition, you can pop them in with no problem. You can see the difference between the different types of SIDs. It's got a lot of positives. It's fully compatible with S-Video straight out of the box, so you can get the best quality picture out of it that you're going to get out of a VIC-2 chip, which can vary quite a bit. And that's something I'd like to say as well. The quality of the video you're going to get out of this thing depends completely on the video chip you're using. I have tried about 5 different VIC-2 chips in it, and the differences are huge between the output quality you'll get. And it comes right down to, you know, the version number of the chips, and even within the same version number, how the chips, you know, perform. So if you're not happy with the video quality, switch your VIC-2 chip. That might solve all your problems. I'm quite happy with the setup I have now. Another reason to buy this board: if you are in an NTSC country, such as Canada, the United States, Japan, Mexico, for example, and you want to get a PAL board, this is a good option. It's guaranteed, first of all. You know it's going to work, and you can just order the board, order a PAL VIC-2 chip online. Any version will do, which is a nice feature. You can run any version chip in it, and there you go. You've got a, you know, pretty much guaranteed PAL setup, which is good, which is going to last you for years to come. So, if you're an NTSC country and if you don't like dealing with hardware, the Reloaded board is really good. If, on the other hand, you're a musician and you depend on software like MSSIAH, until something changes, until they fix the MSSIAH incompatibility here, I wouldn't recommend it for hardcore musicians. Unless, of course, like me, you've got several Commodores and you're willing to, you know, compromise and switch machines, whatever. Although, this is my main machine now. I'm very happy with it. So, yeah, so it's not for everyone, but I'm really impressed with the hardware. It's extremely well built. It's a great unit. It's a brand new Commodore 64, literally in 2015. All the parts, except for the keyboard, are brand new in this thing. So, as you may have heard, it is very difficult to get one of these. They're limited run, and the windows to buy these are generally very short. So if you want to get one of these, what you have to do is go to the individual computer's website, create an account, and on the Commodore 64 Reloaded product page, you can sign up for alerts about when it's available. And what you will get is an email telling you when the thing will become available for sale. When that happens, it usually says within the next 24 hours, within the next 48 hours, the board will be for sale. And it says, please do not publish this to social media. So you don't, whatever, and the people who want it get it. That's how it works. So if you want it, go to individual computer's website, create an account, sign up for notifications on the product page for the Reloaded motherboard. And hopefully you're lucky and you get one of these. And that's about it. So I hope you've liked this review, and I think it's time for some test drive. Alright, let's do it. Flip the disc. And press return. Come on. Where's the Testarossa? There you are. Ferrari Testarossa. My favorite. Excellent acceleration. Handles well.